Well, what are we doing today? Well, whilst I'm plotting and planning the demise of an Amiga 2000 after some trolling comments, I'm working on a gifted laser pointer. This was given to me in a non-working state, and I've already, off camera, opened up the thing to see if there's anything wrong with it. And I have discovered that the laser diode does in fact work, but there's a few issues. Now you'll probably see here, somewhere along here it says the power output is less than 5 milliwatts. I think that's a badge so that they could get it into the country, because if you're not from Australia you'll realise that anything over 5 milliwatt in a laser pointer is banned. But we managed to remove the laser diode and the optics assembly here. It also came with a an add-on here which seems a lot like a diffusion grating. It spreads it into a whole bunch of dots. But let's remove our laser diode here, which is threaded in and have the optics clearly visible. Now, one of the main issues with this is that this little tactile switch is a little unreliable. The other issue was that this collar on the battery bay had come out. It had been over tightened and then turned the wrong way until it came out. Now I've been able to press fit that in there with a little bit of Loctite, and it's in nice and firmly now. However, the button is unreliable, so I'm going to try and lift that tactile switch off the board and replace it with another one. So how about we get everything set up? In fact, what I might do before I set it up to remove that, I might give it some external power first and see if it really is the switch that's the problem. So let's get everything done ready for that. Okay, so I've got 3 volts available at these terminals, and spring usually means negative. Positive is usually on the housing of these, somewhere like that, given that the way this is arranged. Finding a way to reliably hook onto this is a problem. Let's find ourselves a clip. Alright, so we've got 3 volts available at our variable supply. And we have to find a creative way to hook the positive on here. We're going to clip that one on here and that one on here. Now, pretty sure spring is negative, I hope, otherwise I'll be killing this right here and now. Oh, we've got it right. Okay, so we need something to reflect the laser off so that we can see it on camera. This piece of blue tack shouldn't be too reflective. Alright, I've got a dot here and it's very dim, but as I wriggle the switch around, the intensity varies a lot. So, yep, I'd say that's got a lot to do with it. I'm going to check my variable supply because I think I have the current clamped way down. Yep, let me wind the current up a bit. Okay. Yep, so this is clearly problematic as far as, yeah, that switch is definitely a problem. Alright, let's get this switch off and replace it. Right, we're going to take the easy route to get the switch off to start with, because I'm going to solder one directly on there, and I can't use a heat gun on these. They melt. So let's just clip the side off and we'll remove those legs with the soldering iron in a moment. There's our tactile switch off. So now it's time to warm up the iron. There's a switch over here, and turn my phone off. Alright, well, whilst I answered that phone call, it has given my soldering iron some time to warm up. However, I warmed up the wrong iron. So let's find a tactile switch while we're waiting. I have a selection of them over here somewhere. Not in that box or that box, but luckily I have many boxes. Keep going through. There is a couple of tactile switches in this box. Well, they are of a longer stalk type, but I think we should be able to improvise a way around that. My load of boxes has fallen over here. So now this one had a different leg style, so I think we'll have to adjust that as well. bend these legs out straight. Where are my tweezers? Tweezers might not be the best choice for this. A pair of pliers might be. Bend them just nicely so they fit flush on the board, and then we'll trim them to length, probably after we tin them. Now you'll probably notice, I don't know if you can hear that through this, but that has a nice positive click. This has a very weedy, dull sounding click, and that's probably a good sign that the oh, I can smell something hot. That must be my soldering iron melting melting the silicon cable, or trying to. Alright, so yes, a nice positive click. That should sit flush on there now. These buttons don't always trim down all that well, but they might in this case, or they might have to. So I'm going to firstly get some extraction vent going here, outlet. Let's do this, and lower our extraction system down there. Now I'm going to tin these pads, and because these are steel legs and I'm using an iron that has a magnetically regulated tip, the side effect of that is that when molten, the tip drags the legs out of the solder. Now I'll tin the other pads. They only bothered to stick it down to 2 pads here, largely because where are we? Well, that one almost feels like it's been threaded through the board. Yeah, they only bothered to tack 2 pins down because that's all they needed. These are flush cutters, so let's just cut this off flush. Bit bodgy here, but this is a free laser cutter, so on the scale of economy, this is not really worth a huge amount of effort. Going to tin these leads on the underside here, remove some of the excess here, or at least bring it to the tip where I can chop it off easily. Right, now I need to hold this in position. Now I'm a little shaky because MS, dexterity, all the rest. I've discussed multiple sclerosis and my issues under many videos now. I'm going to give it a little bit of a break for the moment. Now these are our desired positions here. If I can get a slight tack onto one of them, I'll be able to hold that in position. Now, pick you up, drop you here. I'm sorry if I go a little quiet doing this, but concentrating is one of the keys to getting these things right. Alright, that has just dropped and everything rotated. Maybe I should have held it by the body like I am now. Alright, that's better. Okay, now that it's stuck in position, I can rotate around and flow a bit of solder under each of these and stick it down properly. Blue tack, as you might imagine, for these things is my best friend. Alright, drop you down here, and we'll drop you down there. Okay, and now we'll take flush cutters and we will trim these extra legs off the side here. Alright, hoping of course I got the orientation right, but it's pretty hard to get that wrong. Right, now let's give it some voltage back and see if we get any kind of better output from this. Go negative here and give us some 3 volts in. And we've got nothing coming through. Let me see if my supply is set right. Okay, now we have it connected. We have a much more stable output. Let's move this where the camera can see it. It's a much more stable output when I wriggle the button. So I think we've changed the faulty button. Now I need to trim it down to a very low height. But I might put the optics back in first and see if we get any result from that. Okay, with the collimating optics back in position, we're still getting a reasonably acceptable output on it. It's not too bad, but still not quite what I would expect. But also I think that the current clamp on my variable supply is probably limiting that. Okay, I'm going to try and trim the top off this switch here. I'm going to do it a little bit at a time because I'm pretty sure these shafts are hollow. So let's just try and take the top off this first. Oh, this one's a solid one. Okay, so height wise we need to match this guy. I should really do this on a macro lens. Let's come down to about that bit there, just gently squeeze, adding the pressure slowly. So it is hollow when you get down to that height, and that is probably a smidgen too short, but the click is still working well, and the button body might actually still function. We'll see what we can do. I might have screwed that up, I might have to use another switch, but recycling with what I have. Let's see if we can get this back together. Now, a little trick I should show you to get the button in here. I dropped the button in there and shook it around until it dropped out the hole. I've dropped this big bolt in to hold the button in place, and then I've taken this piece of blue tack and mushed it on here really hard. Now I can remove the bolt and the button doesn't fall out. That then gives me the opportunity to reinsert this and rotate it round such that, which I think this is a press fit, but anyway, I can insert this in here without the button falling out. Before I do that though, I'm going to give these cables a slight bend so the button fits its position better, and I might stick a little bit of foam under that just to help it keep a better position against the button, because the shaft is now technically shorter than it once was. Now what I'm going to use for a piece of foam is a glow-in-the-dark Nerf dart. I have many of these, so I'm not sad to chop one up. And ironically, these are ones that react to green and UV light very well. So that's our direction that should go in. Now we need to rotate around here so that it doesn't collide with the button. And we will push this through ever so gently, and then we will press fit into the housing. If I've done everything right, I should be able to hear a click from the button, which I can't. Means I might need to pull this out again and put another button on there. So that bit I'm going to do off camera. Alright, so I reassembled this, or disassembled, replaced the switch and reassembled, and I trimmed the shaft just short enough that it would fit in here. I'm leaving this little silver button thing out because this is half the problem. It's not in any kind of a sleeve, and it rocks around and pushes the switch unevenly, which eventually damages it. I have discovered that with this hole, you can probably hear, I can push that quite comfortably with my finger through that hole, but a little finger might have a bit of trouble, or a weaker finger. And there's a bit of foam in here to help stop that, stop the board moving backwards rather. And we'll shove this little bit of foam, blue foam in place to help stop the spring shorting the batteries out. So let's whack some batteries in this and see what we get. Alright, we have it assembled with a pair of cheap batteries, and I gave it a squirt of some contact cleaner on the battery contacts. Now this appears to have a two-stage power supply, so it starts on at low power then ramps up. So let's have a look at this. So you see the very brief moment where it has a small dot, then it ramps up to full power. And that is quite a bright laser dot here. Ouch. Okay, let's turn our overhead lights off and our fan out. Let's do this at a lower exposure. That is an incredibly bright laser. That is not a 5 milliwatt laser. You've got to be kidding me. Right, let's try this with a little adapter on the top here, which I need to blow some stuff off the top. But let's clean this little grating for a minute. Alright, so toothbrush to the rescue. If we look at this up close, this looks a lot like just a diffraction grating that's been stuck in here. Let's see what we get out of this. So, a whole bunch of dots here that we can move. Let's turn our overhead light off. Well, okay, we are having the same power fluctuation issues we had before, but let's play with this grating and rotate this and see what sort of effect we get with it. Looks pretty cool, but I have a feeling that if I remove this, my intensity has dropped off again. I think it's a battery contact issue. Yep, that's clamping right down now. I think it's a battery contact issue because the contact cleaner made a massive difference to that. Yep. Or maybe it's just the supply circuit's got hot. I'll let this cool off for a moment and then we'll see what happens. Alright, well, I think it's dead. I put everything back and the dot was kind of dim. I put some contact cleaner in here and everything was really bright for a little bit. And then it got dim and then it never came back. And yeah, I've disassembled everything, reflowed stuff, and we have nothing. Nothing at all out of the diode. I think the diode might have died, or the driver circuits had it. I do have a really powerful other one that's got a crook driver circuit, so I guess I could swap the driver circuit out of this to the diode in the other one. Oh, I do see, actually you might see just really quietly in here, a little tiny red glow. See? And it's red. I don't know if that's the diode that's gone or the constant current driver. I'm not sure, but it might be the diode. Well, I've got another one that I know for sure has got a crook driver circuit because somebody crammed in batteries, half-size batteries, and over-voltaged the thing, thinking that more volts meant brighter laser. Didn't really understand that it doesn't work that way. So I have that one somewhere. Question is where? Alright, well, the other laser that I had, I'm pretty sure it was a blue one. I can't find it for now. It's been in storage so long and I don't know where it is. So yeah, when I find it I'll have to resume this video, but for now I'm pretty sure this guy is dead. So till I find a new diode or whatnot, that's pretty well it. And sorry guys, not all of these videos work out. Not everything is great. It's worked for a little while, but now she's pretty well shagged. So, and I don't have a great track record with lasers too, and I tried very hard to be gentle with this one, and everything's all glued in. I didn't disrupt the diode, but yeah, I think it's pretty well shagged. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't over voltage it. I just replaced a switch, which I'm pretty sure I've done correctly because it worked straight off the bat. So, sorry guys, I can't revive this one, and I probably won't get another one in the country, but yeah, see how we go. Alright guys, I'm going to pack up my desk and I'll see you in the next one.